welcome back to my channel. Just a quick disclaimer that these tips are from a personal standpoint and should be taken with a grain of salt. The first tip is for poses. If you are new to drawing, I recommend you choose one or two parts of the body you would like to learn, maybe for a week or two, then go to the next. You can go ahead and look at tutorials or to look at photo references and try practicing on that. So people you can look at for tutorials being Mark Crilly, Maki Mega Mega, or Saito Naoki. Don't be afraid of using references, and if you're having trouble making up an idea, try using an art prompt. An art prompt is something that will pretty much generate an idea for you to draw, like an elf with leopard ears in summer swimming, I guess. For photo reference, try breaking down each pose into fundamental shapes, something that you can understand. That way you know how each muscle is supposed to work and function, so it can be easier when you draw it next time. The second tip is for line art. For line art, I personally like choosing a brush that holds texture like the G pen. You can also use custom brushes or the normal default pen. It's your choice. Also, making some lines thicker will add more personality. Though try not to go overboard because then you might shift the focus from the original point of view. Also, you can switch between the correction numbers, some may know it as stabilizer. You might need to have for your lines something that can't be achieved if the correction is maxed out. tip is to not oversaturate your colors. Try using a lower saturation first and then using a darker color that is more saturated for shading. I personally like to use watercolor, pencil, and airbrush. These will cause a harsher color, almost like cell shading for pencil, and the watercolor is in between, and then the airbrush is the softest. If you want to go ahead and smooth out the lines and make it more paintyish, you can go ahead and mix between a watercolor and a airbrush. So if you prefer more cell shading, you can try using a marker, just a normal J pen or another type of pen or something similar to that. I recommend that you go ahead and play around with the brushes to see which brush works for you and then experiment from there. Another tip for coloring is to not use black when shading. When using black is something that is very easy to become muddy. I recommend that if you do choose to use a dark color, something that's similar to like a dark blue, maybe more up your alley instead of a black, that gives the illusion of a black color when you use a darker blue. You can also mess around with the layer filter, I think that's what it's called, to go ahead and see if by any chance you can make something a little different. There is different, dodge, add, soft and hard light, and a few others, though the add may be switched as luminosity. It depends on your program. The next tip is for details. Adding textures either by brush or through filters. These are really good to kind of add a little bit more life or a little more to make your outfit pop.
stuck in my brain. We never got to see it through. And I know I feel more pain if we're speaking truth. Cause when the daylight comes, I still lose. So will I feel it again? I just don't know. And I'm hoping I'll find a way to let go. So if you love me, how could you leave me so low? So will I feel it again? I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know.
For filters, you can add it and then lower the opacity also for Medibang. Make sure you turn it on transparent, otherwise it will overlap your entire drawing with the two colors that's in your color block. Messing around with the tone curve as well is a good way to set the mood. Speaking of the tone curve, let me show you how to use it. After finishing your piece, hopefully everything is in a folder, copy the folder into one layer. Then adjust the tone. I recommend you adjust the RGB separately so you have more freedom, and you can go ahead and adjust each tone to a certain mood. And lastly, aberration. This gives a glitch effect. You don't need much of it, otherwise, well, that'll happen. This is used more or less as a hint than a full front design. I know this wasn't many tips, and there is plenty more tips that can possibly come around. This is just a few things for an illustration that you may want to draw, assuming that you already know how the program works. This also works for other programs like Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint. Obviously though, there is a whole lot of other functions in those programs, so again, take it with a grain of salt. These are just some things that I use and that personally work for me. And I think that's pretty much it. Go ahead and experiment and see what works for you. And until next time, stay bold and beautiful.